Okay guys, before I begin I have to give you a fair warning. This story is absolutely true, unfortunately. It's also very long. It goes back to my childhood, but it wasn't as terrifying until very recently. Now I am completely lost in fear. I'm an adult man, logical and intelligent, or at least I'd like to believe so, sitting in my bed scared shitless right now, goosebumps all over my body and tears of horror in my eyes. I asked for your help explaining this fucking horrifying thing. Here's a caution. I am not the greatest writer, and you'll notice that I curse quite a bit. I want you to know that what you read from now on is the situation perceived by my mind. I like to think that I am a very rational, logical person, and I haven't been able to explain these occurrences in any natural way. It is common in our country that friends come to each other's houses for a cup of coffee, gossip, and whatnot. A few weeks into her new job, my mom made friends with this woman, Rose. She would come maybe twice a week and they'd sit around the coffee table on our balcony and just talk. One day, when I was 17, I was at the balcony with them. I'm not sure why I was there, but knowing me, I probably ran out of hours on the internet. Back in the day, we bought internet monthly per hour in my country. So we're sitting there, they're gossiping about who knows what, and mom gets up to go get some cake she baked recently. I remained sitting at the table with Rose, and that's when my life changed forever. Rose was a good looking woman. She was about 5'6", skinny, long black hair, pearly white teeth. She was an attractive woman overall. So anyways, I'm sitting there with her and she turns to me. She has this creepy grin on her face. The bright red lipstick with the bright white teeth underneath is just making her look more scary. Her head is moving slowly, almost as if she became a puppet. She says something in the lowest tone possible, certainly not loud enough for me to understand. "Excuse me?" I say, still not scared, just a bit weirded out. "You ready to go now?" She said this in the voice of a child. I kid you not, like maybe an 8-year-old girl. The grin is still there. She mustered those words through her teeth, never opening her jaw. "What? You ready?" The same thing again, only this time she pulled an orange out of her purse. That's it, she just took the orange out and held it there. Didn't offer it, didn't eat it herself. She just held the fucking thing. At this point, I was starting to get scared. Thankfully, my mom came back with the cake. Rose, almost as if someone had pushed a button on a remote control, switched back to her normal self, putting the orange back into her purse without my mom noticing. I left the balcony creeped out, but I was 17, so I brushed it off quickly. That night I had trouble sleeping. My room was on the first floor, and my window was maybe 5 feet off the ground, so I kept looking at it, praying not to see some scary monster. I would turn my head constantly and look out the window, maybe every 5 minutes. It was getting late and I started to doze off, but I decided to look into the window one last time. And there she fucking was. Standing in the window, Rose, just standing, looking directly at me. Moonlight was bright enough for me to see. She had the same grin on her face. Lipstick was red as ever, and teeth were whiter than ever. I was paralyzed in fear. I often imagine what I'd do in situations like these, and I always had an escape plan for any hypothetical I threw at myself. But now, when this friend of my mother's was staring at me through my window at 4 a.m., just smiling, I was motionless. My mouth got dry, I got goosebumps, and I swear it became freezing in my room. I finally gathered the courage to get up. I started walking towards the door. Her head was turning with me, slowly, with the grin still there. Again, it was as if she was a puppet. I wanted to scream for my parents, but knowing how tense they are, I decided not to cause panic, just yet. There had to be some rational explanation, right? For who knows what reason, I decided to walk up to the window and ask her what the hell she was doing here. I made 2 slow steps toward it and froze. I froze because she moved. You know what her movement was? Taking the orange out of her purse. Does anyone know what the record time is for having the goosebumps? Because they sure as shit aren't going away. Anyways, after being terrified for a minute, I decided to go on. I'm a big guy and figured I'd be able to fight her off if push comes to shove. My windows pull up in order to open. I pull it open maybe some 10 inches and stop. She's not moving, just holding that damn orange and looking at me with the scariest grin you'll ever see. I stand there, she stands there. Then she starts bending, but every move she makes is so slow, so mechanical. She's bending so she could reach the open part of the window. I'm horrified. She pushes her head through it, just enough space for her head to go through. "You go with me now?" As she's saying that in her 8-year-old voice, her hand is making its way through the crack, holding the orange. What do I do? What you do. Fucking run. I run out of my room, screaming for my dad. My dad is a light sleeper and jumps out of his bed and screams back at me, asking what the hell is going on. All I can muster to say is, "Rose, window." I run back to my room, wanting Rose to be there so we could see that I am not crazy. You know how in horror movies when the person you saw is gone by the time the witnesses come? Yeah, well, similar thing happened. Except I caught Rose leaving. There was a house some 100 yards away from mine, and it had one of those motion-activated lights. I saw the light turn on, and a glimpse of Rose disappearing behind that house. By the time Dad ran into my room, she was gone. After much talking, he decided that it was just a nightmare and told me to call him only if someone physically comes into my room. "You and your damn imagination," is what he said as he was walking away. Needless to say, I got exactly 0 hours of sleep that night. Nothing happened in the next few months. Rose would still come to visit my mom, but I'd make sure I wasn't there. As in every teenager's life, so many things were happening around me and I forgot about the Rose incident. Then one day I was spending my afternoon browsing the internet. I got pretty hungry, so just like any spoiled child, I yelled from my room to see if my mom could come. She didn't. Oh well, tough luck. I have to go to the kitchen and make myself a sandwich. The kitchen in our house is connected to our living room, but you can't see the living room until you're at least in the middle of the kitchen. So I open the kitchen and walk in. I freeze. There it is, right there on the kitchen table. An orange. Immediately I thought of that creepy night. Rose is here. I'm still in my spot. A few seconds later, I realize how stupid I am for relating a common piece of fruit to a crazy window stalker. So I walk towards the table, wanting to put the orange back in the fruit cabinet. I grab the thing and hear a voice behind me. "You will have to come with me soon, you know." It's a child's voice. It's Rose. I produce some kind of noise resembling a scared pig about to get slaughtered. Lightning fast, I turn around and there she is, standing in the middle of the living room. Just standing there. Same grin on her face, same lipstick on her lips, teeth white as ever. Only she started tilting her head to the left a bit. In slow motion. I remember it as if it had happened yesterday. Her long black hair falling down over her shoulders. White summer dress. Bright red shoes to match her lipstick. I forgot to mention that she was very pale. Even in the summer, she seemed to not be friends with the sun. This added to the creepiness. There's this woman, who already scared the shit out of me once, standing alone in the middle of my living room, pale as a ghost, bright red lipstick and shoes, tilting her head to the side, speaking in a child's voice. And then, she takes an orange out of her purse, takes it out slowly, and looks at me, as if she wants me to have it. Just as my self-defense mode is about to take over, and I either run away or tackle this crazy bitch, my mom walks in. I know it didn't happen, but it seemed like my mom brought light into the room. I released a breath of relief. Rose, of course, went back to her normal self. They were about to go for a walk, and my mom was getting ready in her room while she was pulling this grudge shit on me. Since my parents wouldn't believe anything I was saying about her, I wasn't sure what to do. The only thing I could do at that age is nothing, I suppose. But I swore I'd punch that woman if she ever came close to me like that again. A year passed without any incidents and I was getting ready to go to the United States to study in college. Since I was going to play basketball there, I had to prepare for it. I spent summer away from home, working out in a training camp in a town about 40 miles from my city. The last night of the camp, the last incident happened. My roommate had left the camp the day before, and I had the room to myself. I was very excited about going to America in a few days, and had trouble sleeping. I was on the 3rd floor of the hotel and my room had a beautiful balcony. Since it was warm, I decided to sit on the chair on the balcony for a while. I walked out, sat down, and immediately regretted it. It is really time to go now. I nearly shit myself. I mean, it's been a while since I last heard that voice, but something like that stays with you forever. I turned my head to the right, and Rose was standing on the fence of the balcony of the room next to mine. Mind you, not standing on the balcony or sitting at a table, but standing on the fence. How she was balancing, I don't know. Balcony was at least 50 feet from the ground, and she was holding the orange. The fucking orange. Only this time, the orange seemed to have gotten a bit rotten, not nearly as bright as the first 3 times. I was scared that she would attempt to jump over to my balcony, as there was only a few feet distance between them. I was also scared she'd die in the attempt to do so and I'd be blamed somehow. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. "It's really time, you know," she said in that childlike voice, never opening her jaw. Her teeth forever clenched together, and lipstick the color of fresh blood. She seemed even paler this time, and her head was tilted to the left even more. She wore red shoes. "What the hell do you want from me?" I screamed in desperation, angry that this woman is causing me so much distress, but also hoping that someone would hear me and come witness this crazy bitch's harassment. "I only want you to go where you belong." She said that, and again never opened her teeth. She only sprang her hand more towards me, almost offering me that semi-rotten orange. "Fuck you, you crazy bitch!" I opened the door of my room, and as I was walking in, I heard, "You will come." I slammed the door, deciding this woman was schizophrenic. I would have probably flipped out more, but I was leaving the continent in a few days, at which point I was safe. I know I have a wall of text, but this is the shortest version of these creepy events. I came to the US, and I've been here for almost 6 years now. I forgot about the incidents and went on with my life. The only time I ever thought about Rose was when talking to my mom, who said that since I left, her friendship with Rose had fallen apart. I was glad. The last 6 years were the best of my life. Got my bachelor's and master's degrees. I got a wonderful girlfriend. You know, life's good. But then, fucking then. So it was last Friday, September 21st, the release of the iPhone 5. I'm in front of the store with about 50 other people. I may be 15th in line. It's raining, it's cold. I've been there for about 4 hours now. Doors finally open. We start moving in slowly. I look across the street and instantly stop. People run into my back. I can hear complaining, but it's all bouncing off me. Across the street, I see a woman in a white dress, head tilted, holding something orangish. Grin on her face, lipstick so bright red I can see it from across the street. I can't move. Someone from far in the back pushes, causing me to fall. While I gather myself, I see the woman disappearing behind the corner. I remain sitting on the ground. It was Rose. It was her, I swear. I sit there for a few minutes to get myself together. Then I walk into the store. No phones left. I decide to walk across the street, and there it was. At the place where she was standing now only sits a mushed, terribly rotten orange. That's it. Just a rotten orange. I started crying. All the memories came back. I thought that my whole life would constitute of being stalked by some maniac. And how did she find me anyways? I spent the next few hours in a nearby coffee shop, drinking tea and reasoning how this could be logically possible. I kept no secret from my friends and family about my whereabouts. Did she stalk my Facebook? My friends? Did she travel here to harm me? What the hell is her deal? Answering no questions I asked myself, I went home, deciding to keep it all to myself. My girlfriend noticed something was wrong with me for the next few days, but she didn't push it. I figured it was all a fluke, my mind playing tricks on me because I was up all night before that morning. Plus, it was raining. How could I see that well? In that orange? Well, that was just a coincidence. I convinced myself that I was just making it all up. So today, a letter came. I get a lot of mail, so it's not that out of the ordinary. But there was this letter with no return address. I opened it and was immediately shocked. I was holding a Polaroid picture. In it, there was me standing in line in front of the store last Friday. Only the picture was taken by a person behind me. It was taken at the moment I was looking across the street. On the back of the photo, there were a few words written in black pen. You come with me, now. I dropped the picture and started crying like a baby. Like really crying my ass off. My girlfriend found me in our room, curled up in bed, crying. She was terrified that maybe someone close to us had died, and she had never seen me cry before. I had to tell her. I started telling her the story, leaving most details out so I could get to the point quicker. As I was talking, she was getting more and more pale. She never said a word. I finished my story and she was pale as a ghost, not moving. Then she asked a question that caused me to almost faint. She said, "This woman, did she happen to, hold an orange?" I froze. She started crying like I've never seen her cry before. We had a long talk that night, and her story would require another wall of text. Honestly, I'm tired of typing this much, and I'm pretty sure nobody will be willing to read this much. I am also lost, terrified, and confused. But if someone does read this, I'll write the rest. I'll write and hope that someone can offer a solution, and an answer maybe. Currently, we are both scared as fuck, not knowing what to do next. Police is an option, but what do we tell them? I don't know, man. I'm scared for her and for me. I'm crying right now. Help me. Here's an update. Well, guys, shit. Don't know what to tell you. It happened again today. Except I didn't see her. Let me give you a quick rundown of events. 9 a.m. I go to the local police station with my girlfriend. We tell them all we know and show the Polaroid. Although quite friendly, they say they really can't do much other than maybe file a restraining order against the person who probably, in their words, isn't even in the country. They think I mistook her for someone else. And the Polaroid? Well, they said it was probably a prank. They did take the photo and open a file about it, just in case it escalates. It did. 1 p.m. We arrived in town where I saw her. We went to the location. There was nothing there. Don't know what the hell I expected anyways. We stayed there for a while. 6:30 p.m. Arriving home, the front door of the house is open. But this is not uncommon as we live with 5 other roommates. We go upstairs to our room. Our room is open. That is unheard of as we always make sure we lock the door, and our landlord is the only other person who has the key. I yell asking if someone is there. No response. Also, no roommates in the house it seems. We walk in. We freeze. Our room is decently small. It contains 2 queen-size beds put together and a little dresser, and that's about it. So what do we see? The pillows are all on our dresser. Towels are on the bed. Our sheet is taken off the bed and put on the floor. It is spread, and in the center of it is an orange cut into 2 halves with a little peel next to it. My laptop is facing the door and is playing the same song on repeat. My laptop was turned off before I left and was also password protected. The song is my favorite from childhood, Africa by Toto. My desktop background was changed to one picture from my childhood that I didn't even have in the computer. 7 p.m. We called the police. They arrive 15 minutes later. I take about 5 pics of the mess just before they come. They say they'll start an investigation, but claim it's still not serious enough for the fingerprints and stuff. 8:30 p.m. They leave and tell us to call should anything happen. Also advise us to stay with friends if possible. We spend the next few hours just talking, man. Trying to figure it out. We're exhausted, both mentally and physically. I'm going to Skype with my mom tomorrow to see if she knows anything. I will type up my girlfriend's story tonight, but may post it in the morning if I don't finish it in time. So here's her story. Let me begin by telling you a bit about us. I was born in Bosnia, and I moved to a nearby country in Balkans where I grew up. I came to the US over 6 years ago. My girlfriend was born in India and grew up in Kenya until she was about 3. Then she moved to Canada. I met her a little over a year ago, and we've been together ever since. So my girl, let's call her Lila, did have a few encounters with Rose. The first one she remembers was on a plane. She was a flight attendant for Air Canada for several years. One day, about 6 years ago, she was flying her regular flight, but she can't remember what destination it was. It lasted maybe 2 hours. Once they took off and the seatbelt signs went away, she got up to serve complimentary drinks. Halfway through her section, she met Rose. She didn't know it at the time, of course. She said that the woman had something terribly off about her. She had this creepy grin on her face, and was really pale and kept staring at her. When Lila offered her a drink and some snacks, she got no answer. Only a wider and creepier fucking smile. Then Rose spoke. "I have something for you," she said in a voice that definitely wasn't natural for a woman of her age. Her voice belonged more to a teenager than to an adult. She said there was something playful but terrifying in it. Now, Lila has seen some shit while flying, so she wasn't taken aback by this interaction. "Yeah? And what would that be, ma'am?" "Don't patronize me, you bitch." She said that fast, like really fast, and her jaw was closed while saying that. Then she started grinding her teeth, never letting go of that fucking smile. This was a red flag for Lila. When passengers get aggressive, attendants walk away unless there is physical contact. "Alright, well, you have a pleasant rest of the flight, ma'am. I have this for you." She whispered it holding an orange, never moving a muscle on her face. Still a teenage voice. She said it was like when a 12-year-old hits puberty kind of voice. "No thanks." Lila decided to call it a day with this crazy woman and walk away. Then the lady said, "Oh, but you should. For one day. You know, one day." And that's that. Lila gave her a dirty look and walked away. Lady never bothered her again during the flight. Lila went home a few days later and didn't think much of what had happened. When her mom asked her how her flight was, Lila smiled and said, "Good, other than that really crazy lady." Her mom wanted to hear more, so Lila started telling her about what happened. By the time she said the word orange, her mom started crying. Lila was in shock. It was story time. Well, apparently, when my girlfriend was a baby in Kenya, she had woken her parents a few times with loud crying. When they'd walk into her room, she'd have an orange next to her in her crib. Everything in the house would be locked though. Windows, doors, everything. It got to the point where her parents moved the crib into their room and installed security cameras. Well, on Lila's 3rd birthday, that morning when they woke up, they saw an orange lying on Lila's chest. They were absolutely taken over by horror. They called the police. Police came and looked over the camera footage. Cameras clearly showed a woman opening the front door that was locked, walking into their room, placing an orange on Lila and just standing there for like an hour, just standing there with her head tilted to the left, looking at her. By this point, it is unnecessary to say that Lila was completely horrified. Her mom wasn't doing much better either. Anyways, to keep the story going, her parents didn't know what to do. Police couldn't find the mysterious woman, and no security measure, other than 24/7 bodyguards which they couldn't afford, was enough. Some of their family was already in Canada and were pressuring them to move. So this incident was a final push. They moved and left this creature with an orange behind, until that day, on that flight. Lila was completely unable to do anything for the next few days after that story. She didn't eat much, she didn't communicate with anyone. After a while, she got better. There was no sign of further horror, so she started believing it was all fucked up coincidence, and she went on with her life. She hadn't seen Rose in years after that. Last time she encountered Rose was 1 month before she, Lila, met me. Lila did many transatlantic flights. She loved those. Long travels, decent money, seeing the world, she had it all. 1 month before we met, she was coming back from a Hong Kong trip. She flew to Toronto, I believe. She's asleep and I don't remember exactly. I believe it was Toronto though. Crew had a nice hotel. Everybody had their own room. Lila was on the 3rd floor. She loved drinking at that time and got pretty drunk that night. She passed out around 1 a.m. At around 4 a.m., she heard a knock on the door. Then another one. And then another one. But they weren't loud or fast knocks. No, they were slow and silent, yet enough to wake her drunk ass up. She rolled out of bed thinking it was one of her equally drunk crew members. Not thinking much, she opened the door, and there she stood. Lila said the lights in her room were off, but the TV was on. Light from the screen was shining on Rose's face, shining on the grin, shining on the pearly white teeth, bright red lipstick, and a white face paired up with the tilted head. You know how when you're drunk and some scary shit, accident, cops, etc. happens and you sober the fuck up immediately? Yeah, she just let out this helpless sound of horror, and they both stood there. Rose started rocking back and forth. Every time she'd rock back, she'd reveal red shoes hidden underneath her white dress. Her teeth were grinding. Then she pulled out an orange. What do you want from me? Lila begged. Rose kept rocking with a smile. Please, just leave me alone. I don't have anything. You take it. You take it now. He will too. She said that with the same teenager voice, only a little more playful tone was used this time. Like a happiest child. I don't know if it was her defense mechanism activating, but Lila took the orange, threw it over Rose's head, and screamed, "Get out of here and take this shit with you, you freak!" That was the first time either of us saw Rose lose her smile. Her white teeth disappeared underneath her thick red lips. Her head went back from the gentle tilt to its natural position. "I will see you too soon," she said in an adult voice, and this voice was scarier than the teenage one. Lila says it's because it sounded real, like a conscious, normal person making a threat. Of course, at that time, Lila didn't know me and had no idea who you two were. She assumed it was her mom. I am personally just shocked at these developments. I never believed anything like this was even possible. Quite honestly, if one of you wrote this story, I wouldn't believe shit you said. I couldn't blame you if you don't believe me. But if you have any idea about what this might be, I'm all ears. I assume it's some sort of cult. But the only thing that fucks with my head is the fact that Rose knew my girlfriend before I did. Everything so far could have been explained in a logical way. But this took it to a supernatural level. Were they putting an effort into getting us together? How'd they do that? And more importantly, why? For what possible benefit?